everybody, and welcome to episode 120 of 55 and 5. Ian Riccaboni, Cary Silkin, my bad mustache, AJ from Bisson Creative and Web Design. Cary, we have my favorite card in the set today.
Okay.
It is a bona fide Hall of Famer, maybe the biggest draw or second biggest draw in New York history.
Giving it away here.
He's repeated, but this is by far the best action shot of the entire set. I've been saving it intentionally as we get toward the end, mostly because he's a repeat, but also because I love the Argentinian backbreaker that's being applied.
Yeah, now there's a good picture.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, it's Antonino Rocca, who often is referred to as Argentina Rocca.
Right.
Yet he spoke Italian.
Born in Italy, yeah.
And he drew in New York City
big
with the Latins
right.
and the Italians. So he just had that feel. And Rocca is probably second to Bruno in, drawing sellouts.
Yeah.
Maybe, Bruno had such a good run, but Rocca from 57 through early 60s, the tag tems.
Right.
He and Perez, he and Johnny Valentine, he and Eduardo Carpentier. They had one of the tag team matches was the one where they shut down the Garden.
Oh, right.
With against Dr. Jerry Graham, and it wasn't the Graham brothers, but Rocca talk about, and then I don't think we've hit one of his posters when he broke away from Vince McMahon Sr.
Oh, right.
In 60, when Bruno got the belt, he ran a promotion.
Okay.
And if we get George Napolitano on, which we're gonna, wrestling was on from Sunnyside Gardens, and it was Rocca featured, and they would bring up Jim Crockett talent.
Interesting.
Yes.
And people say the war started with Vince McMahon. The war started years and years before.
It only lasted about a year. But
okay.
Yeah. And then he showed back up in the 70s and he had a heavy accent.
Right.
Listen, I only can speak one language.
Right. So it's very impressive that he's speaking multiple languages.
But he was not the right guy to have the color commentator.
Very difficult to understand. Not only a heavy accent, but if I remember correctly, it's kind of deep nasal also. So it's this accent of a man speaking a second language with a deep nasal kind of congestion on every word.
And beautiful hair.
Poor man at the end. All right. If you haven't seen it, 72 to 76, he's the commentator for All-Star Wrestling and Championship, I believe. I think he's on both shows. And, the McMahons love to bring back the legends, which is great. It helps preserve history, but probably not the right guy. I would have gone with one of the Grahams, maybe. I would have brought Jerry Graham back, or maybe.
It's funny. They went from Rocca, and not that long after, Bruno was in there, but then Pat Patterson was another guy with a very heavy accent.
Big French-Canadian accent. Yeah. It's interesting, though. He was the biggest draw to his point. He still, I believe, holds the attendance record, not the monetary record, but the attendance record for Madison Square Garden. He set it at the Old Garden. It was against the great Zuma.
Okay.
And that was a Jack Pfeffer card. So what's always been interesting to me is that the McMahon family did not promote the highest drawing crowd in Madison Square Garden history. Jack Pfeffer did.
And then followed by Ring of Honor in 2019.
Yeah, so the most voluminous crowds. It's always been fun to think about. But yeah, Argentina Rocca, bona fide legend. I mean, I don't think 5 minutes is going to do it justice. So there's some great articles Greg Oliver's written about his time in Canada. I encourage you to check that out. We encourage you to thumb through the History of Madison Square Garden book.
And our posters of the week.
Absolutely.
Hit on him numerous times.
Talk about his feuds, including with Zuma. We've talked about the feud with Zuma. We've talked about the Grahams. We've talked about him teaming with Bruno and how the Bruno versus Rocca match was thought to be Hulk Hogan versus Ultimate Warrior, and it didn't work. It didn't work. It didn't light any fires. So We've talked a lot about Rocca in our first episode on him, which I believe is episode 4, and then on Poster of the Week, which you can get through our YouTube channel as well, and over on adfreeshows.com. But Argentina Rocca, this is my favorite card in the set. Just a beautiful, that's the Argentinian backbreaker, now known as the torture rack, and just a phenomenal move. And he could do it with power, and he was very agile too, as well.
Excellent.
So there you have it. Argentina Rocca, Antonino Rocca, whatever you want to call him. He's number 120. We got 2 left. Running with a Canadian legend, and then maybe my second favorite card of all time. The card we're running with, I would say, is the 52 tops equivalent of a wrestling card, in my opinion.
Okay.
So I'm going to put my stake in the ground there. So we hope you enjoyed this episode. We hope you join us tomorrow for episode 121. We're in the home
We've got 2 to go.
2 left. For Cary, AJ, I'm Ian. Happy wrestling, everybody.